Delta Force holds a special place in my heart. I've played a lot of this as a kid. I was actually introduced to this game by my grandfather, and yeah, sure, it might be rated M, but my parents didn't really care at the time, thank God, and I've had a blast with this game. Now, of course, I was a kid. How does it hold up to today? Well, I did go back and play through all of them. At least the ones I'm counting for is Delta Force 1, 2, Land Warrior, and Task Dagger Force, which, speaking of which, I do own the copy of Delta Force 1, 2, and Land Warrior. Now, I did own a copy of Task Dagger Force, but I gave that to my grandfather since he liked that one the most. We're going to be playing these games through Steam. I don't have the GOG copy. Rumor has it that the GOG version is a little bit more stable than the Steam version is. And if you're looking to go back and play these games, I highly recommend just buy it off GOG. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the boxes and see what kind of goodies that it came with. The original Delta Force, of course, comes with the game, which the disc is very different than what I remember. Has the serial key on the jewel case. You got yourself a business card and, ooh, $10 off on Land Warrior. This must be the re-release of Delta Force since it has that classic label on the bottom. And, of course, the registration card. Delta Force 2, of course, comes with the game with the CD key on the back of the jewel case. It's kind of the same thing except for that $10 rebate card. There's the registration card, and then it looks like it's a showing how to install the game and start it up in case you don't know how to operate Windows. Land Warrior, on the other hand, is packed with good stuff. Of course, it comes with the same business reply mail and, oh, some questions on there. Oh, it's to win some prizes, t-shirts and whatnot. Well, that expired a long time ago. Moving on. Now, I actually liked what they did here. This is like a little key layout, I would call it. Kind of mapping out all the controls that you could put on your keyboard in case you don't want to keep going back to the options tab to try to remember everything. And of course, it comes with the game as usual. And this actually came with a manual, something that Delta Force 1 and 2 never had. And look at that. It's actually colorful. A lot of PC games that I pick up, their manuals are always going to be black and white. But I'm just glad to see this in color. That's great. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the game now. And we begin with the intro. No, I'm just kidding. Like I said, the Steam version was kind of unstable. It never played all of the intros for the Delta Force games at all. So I had to grab them off YouTube. But I actually want to stop and actually talk about the one question that I think some people might ask. Who is Delta Force? So Delta Force, or its original name, the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, was founded on November 19th of 1977 under the U.S. Army branch. The founder, Charles Beckwith Alvid, who was a career U.S. Army Special Forces, created Delta based on his experience serving with the SAS British Special Air Service and also served in the Vietnam War. Now, the Delta Force series was developed by Novalogic, which they were founded on August 7th of 1985, and most of their games were published by EA. What a surprise. Unfortunately, they never saw the light of day as they were shut down on August of 2018 when they were in the works of Delta Force Angel Falls. Now, I remember back then I was thinking, oh my gosh, this game looks great. Like, I can't wait for this to come out. It never came out, unfortunately. But there were rumors saying that the game was actually in the alpha stage. It was actually released to certain people to review and test the game out. Now, I don't think we're ever going to find it. At least I tried finding it. And I don't think there's ever going to be a similar instance where the Half-Life Alpha on a CD was actually sold on eBay and that person actually published it on the web for everybody to play. I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, I know this segment is taking a long time, so I'll just make one final note. Joint Operations Typhoon Rising, the other game that Novalogic released, they claim to have set the world record for the largest modern combat FPS game without a subscription. Now, previously, it was just going to be the world record for the largest FPS game, but there's already a game out there that took that title. So that's why they put Modern Combat in it, so they could claim that. And finally, here we are. We'll start off with Delta Force 1. Now, as you can see, what I mean by the Steam version being a little buggy, when I was recording it, it has this weird like window going on, even though it said it was on full screen, which is a lie. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix that up right now. Ah, much better. Alright, so here we are. This is the screen you're presented with. You just go ahead and choose the soldier that you want. There is a variety of males and female soldiers in there, while also given a name that you could choose from. We'll go ahead and stick with that, and we'll accept the soldier. Alright, here we are. We'll go ahead and jump into single player game in this case, and check out the options that we have for the missions. Here we are presented with 5 different campaign selections. We're just going to go ahead and choose Peru since I feel like that's the most representative and the one that stands out the most in my opinion. We'll go ahead and select the mission for that and jump right in. Now of course once you click the mission, you're presented with a mission brief. You can also click on somewhere on the text to indicate where that insertion point might be, where the objective is, where your team is going to be located, and you also have the option to change your gear. Now in the gear changing session, you're given limited weapons to use on the battlefield. The first one being the M4, you have your basic sniper rifle, you have a Barrett 50 cal, armor piercing, you have a only silenced weapon. This is the only silenced weapon there is. You also have an M249 saw, and that's pretty much it. Secondary, on the other hand, well, it gives you an option to do double the ammo. You can do satchel charges, do claymores, 2 laws, and that's pretty much it. Sidearm, only 2 weapons. You got a suppressed 22 and a basic 45. Once your gear selected, time to jump in the battlefield. And here we are. And I had to change my controls. I had to remember what I had it set to, and thankfully I changed it to the WASD, otherwise I'd be using the arrow keys. And wow, this is bringing me back. The first time playing it, especially on this mission, was great. I didn't felt like I was bored on this, like I was afraid when I go back and play some of the games that I played as a kid, thinking that my memory was pretty bad. Especially the E-games. But no, everything is fine. There's action there. You do have a team that's coming down and striking at the enemy team. So you're not alone on this one. And of course, you probably noticed one thing. There is no background music. Since this game is supposed to portray like a military simulator, so you don't really hear music on the battlefield unless someone's like blaring it out of their like Humvee or something like that. Do Humvees even have like music players or disc players in there? Speaking of military simulator, let's talk about that for a minute. For a military simulator, they really depend on you. I don't mean the team alone, I meant you individually. You're like Rambo, you're just doing missions on your own, and the rest of your team are just helping you out whenever they can. But most of the time, you're it. Now, I don't think that's really realistic in any type of military scenario when they have to deploy a special unit to go get them. It would be like the whole unit together attacking it, not just one person. I mean, I get it that it's supposed to be this really badass person who's done this crazy amount of training that he can handle himself, but you still need a unit to watch your back either way, and especially to be with you when you're clearing like tents and rooms, because who knows, there might be a guy behind you and you don't even see it. Sure, it feels good to think that you're a one-man army, but some missions can be hard and require to have more than one person to clear the objective. But however, it is just a game, so let's just go ahead and move on. Environments in the games are pretty important. I mean, to set the mood, especially where you're going pretty much around the globe almost. There might be areas where you might be in a lush green area of palm trees. Other times you might be surrounded by cactus in the desert during the day or even during sundown, which sundown is very beautiful. Now you're probably confused as to why this didn't look colorful compared to the beginning of the video. I just color corrected it. As much as I like the coloring in the game, but sometimes a little bit more color correction like that can actually be wonderful. There are times where you're in the snow, but it's pretty rare in my opinion. I don't really get much of it, but in the second one it's different. So what are your missions? Well, it's pretty basic. You're either going into an enemy compound and eliminating all the terrorists, you're stopping a convoy, you're rescuing hostages, you're eliminating a VIP, and that's pretty basic. Sometimes they might get intense. You're probably rescuing a hostage, and next thing you know, oh, they're not there, and you're getting ambushed. There are little scenarios like that that tend to change the overall situation by just one simple mistake, whether it be through intel or maybe they're waiting for you. Now we're going to go ahead and look at Delta Force 2 now, because technically Delta Force 2 is sort of an improvement of the first one with the same engine and almost the same guns, but we'll just jump into it and talk a little bit more from there. And here we are, Delta Force 2. Now, as you could tell, the Choose a Soldier, it's a little different. They give you a little bit new faces to choose from, and it looks like it gives you like an arm patch so you can represent the country you are at. So when you go attack terrorists, they know who's messing with who. Now, the major difference in the campaign is instead of 5, you only get 2. So let's check out one of them, and that would be in the snow. Yeah, this one has a lot of snow levels, which is actually really cool. And this one actually has a briefing that will actually play for you.
Codenamed Blizzard, the base is used to research cures for viral agents created and used by groups not adhering to biological warfare treaties. The cold climate acts as a barrier against accidental contamination.
In case you don't like reading, well, there you go. Someone will actually read it for you. Let's go ahead and see what's different on the change gear. So they added a couple of new weapons, and of course the first one that's standing out right now is the M4 with a shotgun, and the underwater weapon they added as well for underwater levels. And most of the weapons from Delta Force 1 have made a return here. The sidearms is different. You have a 45 underwater and a suppressed 45. And as for the auxiliary gear, Kevlar vest, ghillie, rebreather, video camera, extra ammo, laws, so on. Secondary weapon, it's pretty much the same, just ammo, laws, claymores, satchels, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and start the mission. And here we are. You notice what's different is that there's a team with you as you start. That's right, you're no longer John Rambo anymore. And I actually like that a lot, because now there's a team that's actually going to watch your back. Now, Delta Force 2, in my opinion, is the best. I really like this a lot. There's always new environments for each mission. There's little times where you are John Rambo, but all the times you're either with Alpha Team, Bravo Team, Charlie Team, so on. Now, this might sound sadistic, but I do like some of the screams of the enemies when you kill them. It's actually pretty funny. Now, no disrespect, I know it's a third language that they're speaking, but I mean, when you're little and you're playing this, you kind of wonder if he's really saying macaroni. And in case you get done with the campaign, they added a new thing, quick missions. And these are just little missions that you could jump in and play. And honestly, I like all of them. The first one I like is called Front Runner. You're parachuting down with Alpha Team. Charlie Team is overwatching the enemy compound where the hostages are being held. You go in, all guns blazing, rescuing the hostages, destroying what looks like a BMP. Then the hostages will go into the vehicles that are stored in the compound, and then you escort them to the extraction point without any hostages getting killed. The next one is called Posse. A munitions train armed to the teeth is transporting munitions and supplies. So what do? Well, you blow it the hell up. Throw some satchels on the train tracks and get ready for fireworks. Then you have to clear the train of any remaining enemies on board. Sometimes the enemies on the camp will come out and try to stop you, but that ain't gonna do anything. Next one's called Lifeguard. A pilot has been shot down, you have to rescue him. But first you need to take out this anti-air gun so it doesn't take out the Black Hawk. Of course the enemy gets to him first and prepares to execute him. Not on my watch. And out of nowhere, a whole squad comes out and tries to kill you before escaping. That was intense. Overall, the best Delta Force game ever. I highly recommend playing Delta Force 2. It is great. I could keep talking about how great it is to show off more missions, but we gotta get to Delta Force Land Warrior because I do have some things to talk about it. And we start off with the intro. Now the intro is CGI, which is fine. I kind of prefer the live action they did with the first and second, but it looks pretty good. And in this one, as you can hear, they have different units to select from. So it's not like you could select like a face and give it a name. They all have names. Now, like I said previously, there is a lot I want to talk about. So we're just going to jump into the gameplay right away because the menu is pretty much the same. Quick missions, campaign, multiplayer, options, so on. Nothing's really changed. And here we are. Our first mission, we start in Cairo, Egypt. Okay, we need to stop. We need to stop. My complaints. While the 3D objects in the environment is great, however, what's wrong with the weapon? Where are the hands? In fact, that's not a 3D object. It looks like a sprite. Yeah, so the downside about it, in my opinion, is the weapons aren't 3D. They are just sprites that they cut out from what looks like a pre-rendered of the gun instead of modeling it and actually putting it into the game like an actual 3D model and attaching hands to it. It just looks like I'm going around with only one hand, which, okay, sure, sounds badass, but kind of annoying, to be honest. Sure, you can assume that I'm just a picky person, but compared to the first and second, those were 3D models. See? And this is unacceptable. Okay, and yes, there's no reloading animation for it either. Well, neither is in this one. Okay, sure, fine. Just move the sprite out of the screen to make it look like it's reloading. A lot of people said that this game was rushed, and you know what? I believe it. I mean, sure, the levels are fine, but I still can't get over the fact that they couldn't just port the 3D model into the game and add, like, hands to it. Sure, some of you might think that it's EA's fault. To be honest, I don't really know the answer to that. I guess I could quickly show you the character selection real fast. So, yeah, each of the characters have like a name, a bio, weight, age. I mean, okay, that's cool and all, but I kind of like the fact of selecting a face and giving it a name, and then I just come up with its own background. But, oh well, it's a nice touch. Back to what I was saying, if the sprites are annoying, look at this. Even the trees are sprites as well. That's, again, going back to the original Delta Force and Delta Force 2, they were actual 3D objects. I consider this a downgrade in my opinion, but some people might argue and say that it's an upgrade, but I guess it's just how you look at it. Well, what about the missions? Well, so far what you're looking at, they actually added a training area where you can go in and learn the controls and know what your objectives are and whatnot. Some of the quick missions, they're okay. Some of them you might be with like one other person. Other times you're back to John Rambo. We're going back to this formula, huh? As much as I talk a lot of very small bad things about it, it's not a bad game. Just kind of the little stuff like that takes the immersion away. Just kind of feels like Call of Duty instead of the guy having hands on a gun, it's just a floating gun. Speaking of Call of Duty, there was a lawsuit that Novalogic put out for Activision stealing the Delta Force logo. Reading a little bit about it, it seems that Activision was aware that they were copying that Delta Force logo to put in their game Modern Warfare 3. Now, of course, as a kid, I actually enjoyed it. Playing it now, I have a different opinion about it. It's good. And that's really all there is to say about it. The action is still there. You're still the John Rambo you are, and that's really about it. So let's go ahead and move on to Task Dagger Force. Will that be different? And at last, we are jumping into the Task Dagger Force intro. And, oh, okay. This is actual combat footage. Nice. Still doesn't change my perspective on the game if it's going to be great over the intro, but at least they're trying to pump you up to kind of get you to know what you're getting into, or to actually show the Delta Force unit, which I think it is. It could be an actual different unit, to be honest. You'll see what I mean when we jump into the character selection again, because yeah, it's a little different this time. And here we are, so let's go ahead and take a look at that character selection I mentioned. This is what I mean. So, the character selection is actually the different teams. So if you don't want to be Delta Force, you could be the Green Berets, SEAL Team 6, CIA, SAS, SASR, JTF, you know what I mean. So, okay, even though the game is called Delta Force, you can change to be a different unit instead of Delta Force. Okay. Alright, and the weapons? Well, there's a variety, I must say. I know I forgot to mention about the weapons in Delta Force Land Warrior, but trust me, they all make an appearance in here too. So you got your snipers, your assault rifles, your SMGs as a secondary weapon, sidearms. What the heck is that? That's a machine gun? Okay then. That's an odd looking one. What was I saying again? Oh yeah, sidearms, different types of grenades. You actually have concussion grenades, which, okay, I guess I could roll with that. Explosives, SAMs, ATs, whatnot, extra ammo, vest. That's really it for the auxiliary. Alright, well, let's go ahead and jump into the gameplay. Is it going to be different than Land Warrior? Nope. Nope. Steam, go away. This is not the time right now. What the heck, man? I mean, you thought they might have learned from their mistakes with Land Warrior. I don't think it's considered a mistake, but to me, with the weapons, that they had to do something different about it. But they did the same thing? What happened? Well, guess what? This is just what I've heard. Apparently, this is a standalone expansion pack for Land Warrior. Oh my god. Okay. Let's talk about it. So all the stuff that I complain about in Land Warrior makes its appearance in here, since it's the same engine and the same game, just reworked to be something different. What do I mean by different? I guess instead of going around the world, you're actually in the Middle Eastern area fighting off Middle Eastern terrorists. Now, from my understanding, Nova Logic didn't really work on the game. It was that other company that did, that Zombie. I think that's how it's pronounced. Okay, sure, it's probably Zombie, but I'm going to assume the company might name it differently because they don't want to associate it with the actual zombie, since the chick doesn't look like a zombie, it looks like a devil. And I guess they liked Land Warrior, so they wanted to do their own expansion pack for the Middle Eastern. Okay, fair enough. You're all probably expecting me to talk really bad about this game. And while Land Warrior, not all the missions I didn't like compared to Delta Force 2, but in here, the missions are actually kind of better. I mean, yeah, it's still the same thing. You're John Rambo. There's hardly a team that's helping you out. Sometimes you're helping one person get to an objective, and then you're on your own again. I feel like this is more aiming towards co-op, and now thinking about it, I think it might be the same for Land Warrior as well. But I don't know what it is about this game or the missions that I like about it compared to Land Warrior. I can't figure it out. Maybe it is the missions. Maybe they added more enemies. Maybe it's a lot more fun to be Rambo in this one. I don't know. It's strange. The one that stood out for me the most was in the campaign. There is this mission where you have to infiltrate an airbase, but you cannot be detected or trigger any alarms. I don't remember that being a thing in Land Warrior. Maybe it is, maybe I haven't gotten that far. I don't know, but okay. And if you trigger the alarm, well, you lose. Another one that stood out was the one where you're on the helicopter and you're assisting a friendly to get to an objective, and you have to take out the terrorists from the rooftops and ground, providing a clear path. Okay, that is actually pretty fun. The second part of it, you get out of the helicopter into a building where the terrorists are holed up, and you collect the intel from them, make your way to the extraction point while clearing the extraction, and there you go. Okay, I did not see that. Did that helicopter just clip through the billboard? And I got a surprise for y'all. Did you know that there are still people playing the multiplayer? No joke. That's amazing. And honestly, I had the best time playing this multiplayer, even though there were 3 of us and then another dude popped up later down the road. It was still fun. I actually enjoyed it, especially when I know that it's not just me and I actually have a team to link up with. Okay, the multiplayer is great. Now I've heard that the Delta Force 2 multiplayer still works and there are still people playing it. So Delta Force didn't really die. I can conclude saying that Delta Force Task Dagger Force is fun. It's a fun expansion pack for Land Warrior. Kind of has all the necessary action in it, besides maybe the teamwork, but either way, it's still good in my book. Alright, well if you made it this far in the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more content, and leave a thumbs up. It really helps with feedback. Now, to wrap things up, I would say as far as I can go from when I was a kid playing it, having a grand time with all the Delta Force games compared to playing it now after God knows how many years, I say they still hold up to my memory. They're still great, even though that Land Warrior was a little different and there were some technical changes that they made. I assume they had their purpose. Maybe they were rushed. I don't know. So if I have to give an order from which one is my favorite going all the way down to which one's my least favorite, let's start with this. Delta Force 2. Big time favorite. All the missions there, great. Atmosphere, great. Even though it is the same engine as Delta Force 1, I felt like they improved it overall. Now, of course, Delta Force. It's got to start somewhere. It's still a great game. Task Dagger Force. It's fun. The missions are great. Even though that it's still running on the Land Warrior engine, it's really not that bad compared to it. And finally, of course, Land Warrior. As much as I had some complaints about it, it's still a good game. I just don't really play it that much compared to Task Dagger Force. And that concludes everything. See you guys on the next video.